I was cheating with my brother-in-law, and now I'm pregnant. No one knows. No one suspects anything. And the worst part is, I don't know whose child it is. I met my brother-in-law the same day I met my boyfriend's family. I still remember that first encounter. There were no looks, nothing unusual. But something happened, something more dangerous. It felt natural. From the first greeting, the conversation flowed as if we had known each other before. Laughter. Playful comments. That strange feeling of being too comfortable with someone who, in theory, was just family. My boyfriend, on the other hand, had been treating me like I was nothing. He wasn't violent. It was worse. He was indifferent. He spoke to me half-heartedly, barely listened, was always tired, always distracted. When I talked, he looked at his phone. When I needed attention, he looked at other women. He had never cheated on me, as far as I knew, but he made me feel invisible. Small. Unnecessary. My brother-in-law was the complete opposite. He asked me how I was and actually wanted to hear the answer. He looked me in the eyes when I spoke. He remembered details. If I mentioned something once, he kept it in mind. If I was quiet, he noticed. At first, I took it as kindness. Then as affinity. Much later, I realized it was the beginning of something that wouldn't end well. At family gatherings, we always ended up sitting close. I didn't seek it out, it just happened. Conversations while the rest talked about family stuff. Glances that lasted longer than normal. Secret smiles. Those little things. But nothing anyone could call cheating. And that was the most dangerous part of all. My boyfriend stayed the same. Distant. Rushed. With that habit of minimizing what I felt. If I complained, I was exaggerating. If something hurt, it wasn't a big deal. And while I faded a little more each day, my brother-in-law was the only one giving me attention. I started thinking about him without meaning to. In the middle of the day. Before sleeping. I would catch myself smiling at a message from him, always innocent, always appropriate. I told myself nothing was happening. I was confused. It was just kindness. But the body doesn't lie, and neither do feelings. One day, my boyfriend left for work early. He gave me a quick kiss without looking at me and left. Minutes later, my brother-in-law messaged me asking if I was okay, because he had noticed I was sad the day before. That simple question meant more than anything else that had happened in months. We met under a silly excuse. A favor. Some errand. It didn't matter. What mattered was we were alone. We talked. Too much. And there, I realized it was no longer just friendship. It was something more. I had feelings for him. I didn't say anything. I just let myself go. From that day, everything changed. I started living a double life. At night, I was the good girlfriend. The one who had dinner, pretended to care, went to bed next to a man who didn't pay attention. I smiled. I acted. I said I was tired. In the morning, when he left for work, I breathed. My brother-in-law appeared. Our meetings were quick, secretive, we didn't need explanations. No promises. No reproaches. It just happened. I knew it was wrong. He did too. And yet, no one stopped. Sometimes, while my boyfriend talked about his day, I thought about everything that had happened with his brother. And I didn't feel guilty for cheating. My brother-in-law never promised me anything. Never talked about leaving it all behind for me. Never sold me a future. And somehow, that made him more honest than my boyfriend. He was there. He listened. He supported me. I told myself I wasn't in love, that it was just temporary. But I lied. Now, we're still seeing each other. No one knows. The family suspects nothing. My boyfriend has no idea. I'm still living this double life. And I know it's dangerous, but I don't know what to do. Because I know there are things you can't hide forever. For the past few weeks, something in my body started to change. At first, I didn't want to give it importance. I told myself it was stress, exhaustion, guilt. All those things you learn to use as excuses when you don't want to face the truth. But something was happening. The delay was the first sign. Then the exhaustion. I wasn't sleeping well. And finally, that strange feeling in my stomach that wasn't pain. I bought the test. In a hurry, without looking at anyone, as if I already knew what was coming. I didn't cry when I saw the result. I didn't smile either. I just sat there, motionless, holding the test in my hand, understanding what I was looking at. I was pregnant. That was the truth. Raw. Impossible to justify. And then the question appeared. The one that has been tearing me apart ever since. The one that won't let me sleep. The one I repeat silently every night. Whose is it? I did the math. Over and over. Dates, days, moments. Everything blurs together. My boyfriend, following his routine, being with me like always, suspecting nothing. My brother-in-law, showing up in my mornings, in my silences, in those moments that were never supposed to exist. There is no certainty. No way to know without facing the truth. Since I found out, I live with tension in my body. I keep acting like nothing is wrong. I keep smiling, cooking, answering messages. My boyfriend talks about the future, and that hurts. He makes plans. Mentions trips. Sometimes he even talks about having children, without knowing what is happening. My brother-in-law knows too. He was the first person I told. Not because it was the right thing to do, but because I couldn't carry this alone. His reaction was different from what I imagined. He didn't run away. He didn't yell. He didn't deny anything. He stayed silent, looking at me as if he understood the magnitude of the disaster we had created. Since then, our relationship has changed. It's no longer just secret meetings. Now there is fear. There is guilt. There is a question between us that neither of us dares to say out loud. He thinks about it too. I can see it in his eyes. He knows that child could be his. And yet, nothing stopped. We keep seeing each other. Maybe out of habit. Maybe out of fear. Maybe because we are already too deep in this to pretend there won't be consequences. My boyfriend notices nothing. Or maybe he doesn't want to. He touches my stomach without knowing. He asks if I'm okay when he sees me tired. I lie. I tell him it's normal, that it's nerves, that it will pass. And he believes me. He always believes me. There are nights when I wake up in a panic, thinking about the moment everything comes out. I imagine the faces. The questions. The shouting. The silence afterward. I imagine the family falling apart, my boyfriend destroyed, my brother-in-law carrying the guilt. And in the middle of all that, a child who is not to blame for anything. I also imagine other possibilities. Staying quiet. Moving forward. Saying nothing. Raising this child with my boyfriend. There are days when that option feels like the easiest one. The least painful. the least selfish. Other times, I think about telling the truth. Facing everything at once. Letting things fall where they may. Losing everything, but being able to sleep in peace. Not having to invent excuses. Not living with this constant anxiety. And then there is the option I almost don't dare to name. Choosing. Deciding who to be with. Leaving my boyfriend. Trying something with my brother-in-law. Taking a chance on that relationship. There is no decision that doesn't hurt. There is no easy path. All of them involve loss. All of them involve hurting someone. Even myself. No one knows anything. Everything goes on as usual. And I keep wondering how long I can hold all of this together. That's why I'm telling this story. Because I need to hear something that doesn't come from my own head. I need someone, even if they don't know me, to tell me what they would do in my place. If you were in my position, if you knew you were pregnant and didn't know who the father is, if you loved two men, what would you do? Would you tell the truth? Or would you move forward as if nothing had happened?